When you say I'm not okay with open, that's no longer true. But I thought it would be more playful. I didn't think it would be as serious as it is, where we have committed relationships with other people. And whatever you have said, I say I might struggle with it, but I'm always like, okay, let's do it.
I was also concerned that if I were to do that, you'd be like, okay, well, you're not going to see them.
I'm not
the
a
next
crazy
day.
person.
Christine.
No.
I don't think you're a crazy person.
Hold on. But let's say Christine says, if you're going to do this, if you want to go see her today or them today, I don't want you to see them tomorrow. What is the problem with that?
I think I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Up until very recently, if he were to sort of tell you the story of our intimate life, he would say that we're totally incompatible, and that we
You're
have
sexually incompatible?
Yes, that we're sexually incompatible, especially in terms of appetite. And
What's the incompatibility?
well, like I never wanted, he always wants it.
I view sex in a lot of ways. I see it like eating and like sleeping. I have to do it every day. So the idea that like you had sex yesterday is sort of like saying you ate yesterday. I appreciate that. I'm glad I ate yesterday, but today's today. But I didn't approach her like this, like, hey, it's scheduled. Like none of that.
Yeah, you did.
Wait, I want to get to the essence.
I really didn't.
Okay.
And I don't even view it that way. The way I think about it is that actually just makes great sense. It's what you're supposed to do. It's what my body wants to do, and I am in agreement with my body. Like we agree on this completely. I don't see how anyone can disagree with it. Like I don't even understand the idea like I don't want to. Doesn't even make sense to me. I'm like, something's clearly wrong with you.
Look, there's a big part of me that really, and has for many years, told him to fuck off. And told him, like, this is impossible. You're not asking for anything, but you're asking for sex 3 times a day. What do you mean you're not asking for anything? You know, I'm a person who has to, you know. Anyway, if you had met us 10 years ago, I would have said that I thought he had a sex addiction. And that I thought his relationship to sex and sexuality was disordered. I mean, that's how we ended up here and now. I thought that was like the beginning and the end of our stuff.
How do you mean?
Like if sex was good, life was good, and if sex was bad, life was bad. Not coming from me, coming from him.
You don't want to be okay with not doing it. That is not a sign of health. That's a sign of something else. And so you want to, and I want to fix that, and I want to encourage it. So a lot of my encouragement, I'm not great at encouraging, I guess. You know, it was interpreted a very different way. But
As pressure?
I think certainly easily as pressure, but also it could maybe even like even more than pressure, could be almost viewed negatively.
And you often misinterpreted gestures as manipulation, as a sexual manipulation? That's what would happen?
Yes. Pressure felt like pressure, felt like pressure. I couldn't see it as anything else. When we sort of came to blows a couple of years ago.
Around the birthday thing?
Yeah. I was just like, I don't want to be fucking held responsible for this anymore. Like, I don't want to, I don't think it's fair to him at all. And there was a lot of years where I defended myself and I defended my position and I accused him of all kinds of behavior from a very defensive place. And I do now really believe his intentions. I think you wanted to love me up all the time and be loved by me, and I downright couldn't.
When we were first married, the first few years of our life, I was so excited every time he would come home. Sometimes I would wait for him by the window like a puppy, like waiting for him to get home. And I just feel like over the years, so much resentment and so much disappointment has built up. It's very hard for me to just be jovial and happy and carefree. When he says to me that when he feels that I'm agitated, it's hard for him to come toward me
Right.
So it's almost as if I can never get what I need out of
Right.
him, because when I'm upset and when I'm agitated and when I'm frustrated and when I'm angry, it's when I need him the most, but I'm the least able to express it. And
Yeah.
he's the most likely to take that step back and say, I don't want to go near you with a 10-foot pole because
Right.
you're clearly upset right now.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be the person to say to him, will you give me a hug? Because I don't want a hug from him because I'm angry at him.
But if you get a hug from him, how will that get in your way?
Maybe it'll make me feel in some way as though I'm rewarding him, or make him feel like everything is copacetic when it's clearly not.
So you're kind of doing a star system. Yes.
You are not getting a check on the 10th day, and you do not get to stay home from work. So don't get any ideas.
The star system never worked on me as a kid.
It doesn't really work.
I feel like it also expresses itself sexually.
That I was just going to ask, actually,
because
because
he'll
that's
tell
often
me.
the next arena.
Yeah, I get very frustrated that he doesn't initiate things. I'll say to him, I'm like, you don't have to do very much. Like, all you have to do is just show me a little bit of affection, and that'll be enough. Like, I'll fill in all the rest of the gaps.
Yeah.
But he won't do that. He'll never take that first step. Never. In 11 years of marriage, never happens.
Not true.
It's like you are asking me to be that person.
Listen, part of what you're doing, in a way, might be a clue to what goes on sexually and in other domains. You are doing all the work. You've asked the question, you've answered already what his response is, you're doing it all. So, but then you're saying, where is he? Right? So, let's ask.
Where are you?
What are
right
your
here.
thoughts?
Are you even here?
I think so.
What are your thoughts? First of all, how are you feeling?
Well, it's upsetting, a little uncomfortable. I think there's like a baseline fear that I'm upsetting her or that she's angry at me. She'll say like, hey, I'm just sitting here on Netflix. You could just like jump my bones. And it's just like, no, I'm like,
You have no idea what you're going to get.
like, I don't want to jump into a bear trap that like might be okay.
I put a real live bear trap and I wait for him to walk into it. And
Right, exactly.
Right.
I would say
Right.
most of the time I bring up a topic of conversation, I feel like it's shot down for some reason. That creates a bedrock
A baseline of kind of expecting to be rebuffed or criticized.
a baseline of just like being careful where I
Yeah.
tread.
Okay. That's good information for you. But to go back to the original business of like initiation, what ends up happening is the more agitated, anxious, and in a way rejecting you are, the more you retreat,
Right.
right? The more you retreat, the more agitated you are. So that's it. That's your dance,
right.
right?
Do we talk about yesterday? Bring it up now. Okay, so it came up yesterday. While I was out with a friend, Nadine went to see one of her lovers without telling me. I felt that a boundary was crossed because there was no communication about her going to see them. And this isn't the first time a boundary has been crossed with this particular person. And so the primary thing I say when we're really not getting along and I'm really struggling to establish boundaries or feeling like boundaries are not being honored is to say, let's move apart.
You need to move out and let's move apart are very different energies.
Yeah, okay. You
Yeah.
need to move out. It's been a while.
My experience was a little different.
Tell me.
That person, they had gotten their period, they weren't feeling well. I asked them if they wanted weed. It was a literal 4-second interaction, like boom, boom, bye. Because I was so afraid of what it would create in the home. I said, hey, this is what happened. And then immediately, you need to move out. I mean, the energy was not calm and cool and collected. And mind you, I'm like in the bathtub. So like, I'm like trying to like have a conversation and trying to relax or whatever. So then it's just like this very intense conversation. And it even like the way
What happens in the conversation?
I was like, my feelings are growing deeper and I express all that so I could understand why.
My feelings are
For the other person.
More than that, there were very particular words that were said.
like.
I might be, like, it might be a love thing, you know, that I might be feeling. And then I feel like I can't even, I don't know what to do with myself with how I'm feeling towards this person, what it's creating in the home.
What does what to you?
I feel like I'm a bad partner, I'm a bad lover, I'm a bad everything, and all I do is hurt people, and this is what I'm doing to her, and it was literally like going under the water because I felt like I had no place.
You had nowhere to go where
Yes.
you didn't feel Christine's feelings.
Yeah. And sometimes it almost feels like you're responding in a disproportionate way because I feel like you don't like this process at all. Like, you don't want to be open, you don't want to be poly, you hate it, and now, like, I'm just having to, like, sit here with you hating this relationship.
If I may. Sometimes I feel like I have to over-exaggerate my response to say this is a boundary. We cannot keep pushing them, we cannot keep crossing them. I do not feel safe when that happens. And it's mostly based in fear and grief. I feel a devastating amount of grief. But
Tell me about that.
just in the sense of her having feelings for someone else. When you say I'm not okay with open, that's no longer true. But I thought it would be more playful. I didn't think it would be as serious as it is, where we have committed relationships with other people. And whatever you have said, I say I might struggle with it, but I'm always like, okay, let's do it.
I was
'cause
also
love you.
concerned that if I were to do that, you'd be like, okay, well, you're not going to see them.
I'm not
the
a
next
crazy
day.
person.
Christine. No, I don't think you're a crazy
But
person.
hold on. But let's say Christine says, if you're going to do this, if you want to go see her today or them today, I don't want you to see them tomorrow. What is the problem with that?
I think I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Okay. So
And that's a
there's-
theme of our relationship, I feel like. I want to feel like a priority, but sometimes I feel like I can't ask for anything. And even if you're violating our own agreements that we're making, you still do what you want. And I have to acquiesce constantly. Just like, whatever, what can I do? Oh, that's Nadine. She's just gonna do her thing.
We had a pretty intimate first 2 years, and then it just died. It just completely got cut off.
What killed it?
Her belief in abstinence.
Well, we started off casually, so I was having fun too without thinking it was going to really go anywhere.
But why is casual sex or intimacy okay, and when you get serious, it's not?
It's not okay. It wasn't. But I think maybe I was rebelling then. I was probably angry and upset and going through a breakup. And just meeting him, I felt like was like, oh, he's a bad boy. So I'm going to do bad things with the bad boy that I'm not going to marry.
And you're suddenly allowing yourself some freedom internally.
Well, it only goes for a very short period of time where I can just let it go and just let my flesh just do whatever it wants. And then I'm hit with a whole bunch of shame and guilt and this mental torment later on.
But the struggle is with doing things or even wanting things?
Yeah, both. So it's not even just the act of doing it. It's just like...
Just any desires?
Yeah. Like, for example, like masturbation. Like, that I feel the same way. So it's not
So
just...
it's not just what you do with someone else. It's sexuality in general.
In general. But now, there's nothing to feel guilty about. We're married, and this is something we should be enjoying. But there is no... like urge or like desire for me like wanting him unless I had to focus. And when I do focus and it actually happens, A, it hurt, and 2, he'd get disappointed because I couldn't finish or he couldn't finish.
So are the two of you operating in this case that the idea of sexuality is intercourse?
Yes.
Okay. Well, maybe...
Right? Yeah. Right.
Well, when couples meet this kind of impasse, they have to get a little creative and expansive about how they define sexuality. What if you're aiming to just restore some sense of intimacy, physical intimacy between the two of you, not intercourse, coming, just intimacy and some basic pleasure? Intercourse off the table.
I'm all on board for it. I'm afraid he's gonna push to the next, and then he's gonna express disappointment. And
Okay, well, can you not do that?
Well, anything's better than not,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. So many other things you can do.
I just don't know what it looks like.
I'm sure you can think of what it looks like.
Okay, so we went to a bathhouse. First time as a couple doing this, like knowing what we were about to get into. We were both excited, nervous, but mostly excited. And it was a very positive experience. We had a lot of fun.
And I was not finished.
So, yeah. Okay.
I wanted more.
So we had been there for a little over 3 hours at this point. That's a long time. And for me personally, how much sex can you really have in one night, you know? But we had a moment of check-in, and I was just like, okay, we've been here for 3 hours. We said we were going to dinner. Do you think it's time for us to go home? And he didn't quite say yes and no. He just kind of looked upset. And it put me back in that place of feeling like the adult calling the shots again. By that point, he had shut down. He wasn't even listening. And I'm just like, what the fuck, Kyle? Like, what's going on? Like, I could tell that it was killing the mood of what we had just experienced, which was the euphoria of in this space. Suddenly, that's out the window. And I'm like, really, you're gonna shit on this right now? Like, we're here having a good time. Like, what's your problem? But then he was like, it wasn't enough. I didn't have enough. It wasn't enough. I wanted more. I could keep going. Just when I started having fun, you took this away from me because I haven't been able to have fun until tonight. And I'm like, what the hell have we been doing for the past 3 days? What's going on? And then it took a while, but eventually it came out of him where he starts expressing how the experience of being with our friends and being together in the house, he was missing the deaf component, the exchange of a deaf person's dialogue, the sign language, that all of that was missing. And I'm just like sitting here like, okay, I understand what your feelings are. They're completely valid. But why did it have to take us going to the bathhouse to be completely released to suddenly say that that was my fun? And now you can't take that away from me.
Can I stop you for a second? Because I'm just wondering if something similar is actually happening right now, in the sense that you're talking and expressing what's going on and you're silent.
I'm listening.
Right.
What?
Part of what Mondo is talking about is you holding things in for a long time.
Yes.
Are you doing the same thing now? Are you holding things in rather than speaking?
I was waiting for my turn, and I just wanted to figure out how we could.
Yeah.
You're saying a lot. So.
Yeah.
Right, but waiting for your turn. I'm just wondering if that's part of what we're talking about.
I had a different agenda in my mind.
Oh, did you?
Well, it was toward the end of our vacation. Because you and I had a beautiful conversation about the experience of the bathhouse. We had a beautiful conversation about the recognition of me being selfish, that I had not had fun for so long. And then when we get to the bathhouse, I forgot how much fun I had. Gotta go home to my hearing friends. Fuck no. And I was kind of moving where it's like Kyle, come back to being an adult, come back to being responsible. Back the fuck up, because I'm having a good time. I'm in Mexico, I don't have to think about work, I don't have to think about your friends, and I don't have to worry about being at the dinner table not being able to follow what's going on.
Right.
When they tried to engage me, I got disconnected, maybe I misunderstood, got overwhelmed trying to catch up. I give up. I'm just gonna people watch and not talk about anything. Damn, that feels good.
Yeah, you had a lot to say while sitting here quietly.
I was just waiting for the point where it was my turn so I can finally say something about it. Yeah.
So I'm developing a private theory that you're working so hard that you cannot pick up on the cues
Okay.
that Kyle is sending you.
Yes, I can see my personality fit that. That, I can totally see it.
And Kyle, you're like not sending enough cues to Mondo, to your partner,
Yeah.
to say, hey, I'm in distress.
Yeah. I have had opportunity to give you a hint or a cue. I'm feeling this way right now. What can I do? Why? What prevented me? And let's go back to the common theme of if I were to say what I need, would turn away and walk away.
Right, you said that to me.
It's the same theme. Just like my dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Repeating the pattern.
A little bit.
I'm sorry?
A little bit.
Today was a better day.
Yeah, it was.
We were supportive of each other. Today was definitely a better day.
Describe.
Like you giving me a kiss last night before we went to sleep, you know?
How did it affect you?
I felt calmer. It was that little of something that made me feel calmer. I just know that I had to back off and stop being so overbearing. And I realized that it makes a huge difference when I am calmer for everyone.
Without doubt.
And I'm heard instead of barking, because it was easier to do that than deal. It's like my dad.
And Rod, I was curious. Who did you talk to more at home as a child?
My mother. My dad was always there, but always very reserved, very quiet, not much of a speaker at all. And that used to make my mum actually pretty infuriated. Like she wanted
Him being that way.
Yeah, she wanted more conversation.
Sure.
And it just didn't happen. So I guess there wasn't. That was always a rift between my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got my mum's anxiety and my dad's reservedness.
Great.
Or the pattern that you're familiar with is that pattern.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you would watch them that way?
Certainly sad. I remember there was a time, I don't know what triggered it. Just had a quick memory. My father was from Los Angeles, my mum's from London. I remember going back to California to visit my grandparents, probably when I was maybe about our daughter's age, like 8, 9, 10. And my parents having some kind of big blow-up argument, and I ran out of the house. I remember distinctly walking down the Hollywood Hills by myself, and I just had to disengage from the kind of, toxicity that was going on.
Did you have any wishes? Like, I wish Dad would, blah, 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 or I wish Mom would?
Not really. But when my parents finally did get divorced, I was probably late teens, early 20s, and I was actually relieved because I felt like the marriage was off tracks.
Yeah.
I remember the action of me running out of the house and like, no, don't do it. Like, you want to cover your ears? And like, enough, like, no more shouting, no more screaming.
Yeah.
I mean, our daughter's done that sometimes. I just don't want her to witness what we witnessed with our parents.